So you're trying to get a government startup grant. You spend weeks, maybe months, pouring everything into your business plan. You hit submit, and then you just wait. It feels like a total black box, right? Well, what if you could get a peek inside that box? Today, we're doing exactly that. We're going to pull back the curtain and show you how grant reviewers actually think and what they're looking for. These are the unwritten rules that decide who gets the check. Because really, this is the only question that matters. Before a reviewer even reads the fine print, before they get to page 2, they've already put you in a category. So the real game is figuring out how to land in that top tier pile. What's the secret sauce that separates the startups that get funded from the ones that get forgotten? Let's get into the reviewer's playbook. First things first, forget about them reading every single word. The most important judgment happens incredibly fast. We're talking the first 10 seconds. In that tiny window, a reviewer is scanning for just 2 things. What's the idea and who is the team behind it? That's it. Everything else, that comes later, if at all. And it all starts with this one concept, founder idea fit. This is the absolute first filter. They're asking, does it make sense for you to be doing this particular thing? If you have a PhD in biotech and you're launching a biotech company, that's a perfect fit. But if you're, say, a history major proposing a deep tech semiconductor company with no engineering background, that's going to raise a huge red flag right away. This fit is the foundation for their entire impression of you. And based on that fit, they immediately sort you. Tier 1 is for the superstars, the PhD from a top school with a decade of experience at a major tech company launching something in that exact field. Honestly, they're pretty much a shoo-in. Tier 3 is the total mess match we just talked about, which means that most of us, the people with good ideas and a solid but not quite perfect background, we're all duking it out right there in Tier 2. That's where the real competition is. Okay, so let's say you pass that initial 10-second fit test. Great, but what's the next hurdle? The reviewer immediately starts digging into the origin of your idea. They want to know, is this something born from your real-world, hands-on experience? Or is it something you just dreamed up at your desk? And believe me, the answer to that question changes everything. And look at this quote. It's pretty harsh, but it's straight from a seasoned reviewer. Any idea that sounds like a wouldn't it be cool if kind of thing is met with a wall of skepticism. Why? Because ideas that haven't been pressure tested by reality usually fall apart. Reviewers are looking to fund solutions to problems you have personally felt and lived, not problems you've just thought about. So in the reviewer's mind, there's this huge divide. On one side, you've got ideas that come from years of working in an industry. They're practical, they're grounded, and reviewers absolutely love them. On the other side, you have these theoretical ideas that are built on a pile of assumptions. To a reviewer, that just screams high-risk gamble, and their job is to avoid those. So, how do you prove your idea is the real deal? Here's the secret. You don't. You let your potential customers prove it for you. Nothing speaks louder than objective evidence. I'm talking about feedback from a pilot program, survey results from your target market, or even letters of intent to buy. That kind of stuff is pure gold. It shows your idea is rooted in reality, not just in your head. All right, so you've nailed the founder idea fit, and you have a problem rooted in actual experience. You're in a great spot, but you are not done yet, not even close, because a great idea isn't a business. Now the reviewer needs to see that you've thought about the long game, how you're actually going to build a sustainable company. Just look at this number for a second. 3 billion won. That's about $2.5 million US. This isn't some random number. It's the actual amount of money one expert we looked at personally lost while developing a single piece of hardware, a fingerprint sensor. Your business plan has to show that you understand the real costs of your journey, far beyond what this one little grant will cover. This is what really separates the pros from the amateurs. They're not just looking for a budget for their grant money. They're looking for your entire financial roadmap. They're asking themselves, okay, but what happens when this grant runs out? Where is the next round of funding coming from? How is this company going to survive for 2 or 3 years until it's making real money? Showing you have answers proves you're a real entrepreneur. Because this is their worst nightmare. This is what they're paid to avoid creating, a zombie company. It's a startup that gets hooked on government money, just stumbling from one grant application to the next without ever building a real, self-sufficient business. Your long-term financial plan is your promise that you won't become one of them. Okay, we've talked about the big picture strategy, but what about the nitty-gritty? How do you actually put all this into the document itself? Let's get tactical and talk about the secrets to writing a plan that a reviewer just can't say no to. Think of this as your cheat sheet for just making the reviewer's job easier, which is always a good thing. Seriously, respect the page limit. It shows you can be focused. Use bullet points. Nobody wants to read a novel. And here's a pro tip. A lot of these reviewers are in their 50s or older. Using a tiny 8-point font is just going to make them angry. Keep it readable. Simple things like this make a huge difference. And listen, if you remember one thing about formatting, make it this. Your summary page has to be exactly one page. Not a sentence more. This is non-negotiable. It's not just about saving space. It's a test. If you can't explain your entire business clearly and concisely on a single page, the reviewer automatically thinks you don't really understand it yourself. It's a massive, massive red flag. All right, let's bring this all home. After you've done all this work, written the perfect plan, how does that final yes or no decision actually get made? The truth might surprise you. It's often decided in the first couple of minutes after they open your file. Now, this might seem crazy, but this is the breakdown of how the decision is weighted. A massive 70% of their choice is based on that one-page summary and your team profile alone. All those other detailed sections you stressed over, they only account for a tiny fraction of the decision. If your summary and your team don't grab them immediately, you've probably already lost. The game is won or lost on that first impression. And speaking of the team, here's a huge warning sign they are trained to spot. What's known as the puppet CEO. This is when the team members seem way more qualified or experienced than the founder who's listed as the CEO. It immediately looks like the team just brought in a frontman to qualify for the grant, and reviewers see that as dishonest. It kills your credibility instantly. You also have to be really careful about who you list as a core team member. Putting down people like university professors, doctors, or government researchers can backfire. The reviewer's thinking is, this person has a stable, high-paying career. Are they really going to quit that to go all in on this risky startup? It's much more believable to list them as an advisor or a partner, not someone who's supposedly in the trenches with you day to day. And in the end, this is what it all comes down to. This is the one single question that every reviewer is trying to answer as they go through your application. Are you a true entrepreneur? Someone who is obsessed with solving a problem and is committed to building a real, lasting company? Or are you just a grant hunter who's gotten good at filling out paperwork to get free money? Your entire application, from your personal story to your financial plan, is your answer to that question. You have to make sure it tells the right story.